everybody. Welcome back to the Show and Tell show. My name's Nahani. I'm from Haroni Museum, and I'm with Nicole Jackson and Genevieve Carter. And unfortunately, Jan is sick this week and she can't join us. But we are covering items that were used by researchers from our museums. And we were challenged by Penetanguishene Centennial Museum. So Nicole, you're going to tell us all about it.
All right, so when I thought about this topic this year, I was thinking about our genealogy and research center that we have here at the museum, because that is a spot that most of our researchers do use when they come. And I was thinking of our most popular item we have in there, and that would be what we call a marriage repertoire. And this has an account of all of the marriages that took place in Penetanguishene, LaFontaine, and Perkinsfield from 1856 to 1982 in LaFontaine, but from Penetanguishene 1835 to 1982 at the St. Anne's Church. So we actually have copies of the original St. Anne's registry at the museum. And what volunteers did over the years is they put together this really great finding aid to show where all that information could be found in the original registries. And so when they find it in this book, this gives them all the information, and they can, if they want, have access to look at the original registry that we only have copies of course. I'm sure you probably sell this one as well, maybe, or something similar in your gift shop. We sell them for $38, but a lot of times people just come in to look at this at a research room. And yeah, it's just one of the many finding aids that we have in our research room that people use for particularly just genealogy research, which is a whole facet of history about figuring out your own family. And that's very popular in our area, especially because there's a lot of Métis history or Métis families in the area, and a lot of them to receive their Métis Nation of Ontario card, they need to do their own genealogy research. So a lot of them do come to the Penetanguishene Museum, and I'm sure the Haroni Museum to do some of that research.
Yeah, we have lots of people coming to do genealogy at Haroni Museum, and we have those the cemetery registries, like I'm sure you have copies of those too, and they get used a lot by researchers. Yeah,
this one's our marriage registry. We have a baptismal registry that's even bigger, and that one's not for sale, but you can come to look at that one. We have a burial registry. We have cemetery databases. We have so many things. And St. Anne's, being the Catholic Church, they just took really good records, and that's where it's keep. We do have records from the Anglican Church and the Presbyterian Church, but not as extensive as we do for the St. Anne's Catholic Church.
Oh, that's too bad.
Yeah. Cool.
Were the original documents, do you know, were they sent to like a central Presbyterian or Anglican Church archive? Or
a lot of the original actually are owned by LDS.
Yeah.
Okay.
Which is the Latter-day Saints, which is the Mormon Church, and I think they have a lot of this. I mean, I know that some of the dioceses do have some of the copies, but that's actually where we were able to find the originals and be able to get them copied. So.
Oh, okay. So that's a good place to start if you're starting research on your family.
Yes.
So.
If you're trying to do some research from home, FamilySearch.org is a really good website that is free to check out. I know a lot of people check out Ancestry, and we have a subscription to Ancestry, but that is paid, and FamilySearch.org is free, and that is the LDS website.
Okay.
That's some really good info. Yeah. Yeah. What have we got, Genevieve, over from Haroni Museum?
I didn't bring the actual research material, but what I have brought in is the resultant. I don't know if anyone can see that. The resultant publication. It's a book about this fellow right here, Mr. J.W. Bald, and his postcards. It's a really phenomenal book. J.W. Bald was a photographer. He got his start, I guess. He had his first studio in Penetang. Then he moved to Midland. He was at the north end of King Street. Then he moved down, or I guess up the hill a bit, he had another studio up at the corner of King Street and Elizabeth. Not right on the corner, but just down a few shops. And although he did have a studio, he did not confine himself to the building, the studio itself, but he did a lot of photographic work of streets in different towns, Port McNichol, Midland, Penetang. He did a lot of civic buildings and a lot of private buildings. He took a lot of photos, just all up the shore. He was really good friends with the Hanley brothers, John Bruce Hanley and Bert or Cyrus, Samuel Cyrus Hanley, who owned a Midland Engine Works in town. And they would frequently take hunting trips up the shore, eastern shore of Georgian Bay, and he'd bring his lug, all his photographic equipment with him, and he took stunning photos of lighthouses and just, you know, the typical Georgian Bay scenery. And often he'd pose his friends. He'd pose Bert and Bruce in their small canoes or the various boats, the Iris, that they brought with them. And he'd pose them, and those were often printed on postcards. So this book is a phenomenal book. It covers his whole career. It's got like a categorization of every found or known printed image on all the different, I guess, manifestations or copies, because there were about maybe 15 or so different printers, postcard printers, who used his images, and he printed them himself, but then he went through a number of different manufacturers. And so it just covers the whole history of his the postcard process. It's a really, really good book. And if you don't care about J.W. Bald or the postcard history in Canada, it's also just magnificent for all of the different images, the historical images of buildings in the towns, people, and the scenes that you just don't see anymore. A lot of resorts and cottages up the shore, a lot of the big resorts that are gone now. Once that once that was no longer popular, small cottages, it's hard to see. You have to get the book for yourself. Postcards were really, really important industry for photographers and for communication in general in the early 20th century. Postcard rate was cheaper than it was to send a letter. And if you're just sending, you know, a small communication, a small note to someone, you know, Mom, I'm going to be at the station. I'm taking the 4:10 train home, so come and pick me up at the station on Friday afternoon. You wouldn't send a letter to do that. You just put it on a postcard and send it off. And oftentimes it would arrive within a day. So so they're just wonderful. It's like not just for the photos, but for the information on the back. And a lot of times I have to say, this is a note to anyone who's watching, next time you go on holiday, you do send a postcard, and I advise you just send lots and lots of them. Please make sure that you do not write having a good time, the weather is great, fishing is wonderful, because I have hundreds and hundreds of postcards like that in the collection, and I'm really tired of reading that. So do a future curator, you know, do something nice for them. Yes, and write something spectacular, even if it's a lie or an exaggeration. Do that. That's my thank you.
Okay, so that is a public service announcement from Genevieve Colonial Museum. Please, even if you're making stuff up,
that's good.
Put something cool on that postcard.
Yeah.
Awesome. Thanks for sharing, Genevieve. So I'm thinking it's our turn to challenge you this week, Penetang Machine Centennial. So you're going to have to relay this to Jan.
Okay.
Valentine's Day just passed. was thinking we've got to have some excellent examples of love in North Simcoe.
Oh.
Oh, right? It's a
Oh.
find something that tells a love story or represents the love of North, that happened in North Simcoe. So yeah, I think we
Okay.
have some pretty cool things in our collection that can share that story. You got that?
Yeah.
You bet.
Okay, awesome. All right, thanks for joining us, everybody. We'll see you same time, same channel next week. Bye.
Bye.